Good evening, guys. Today we will be having our panel discussion on the Economic Survey, Volume 2, Chapter 8, Industry and Infrastructure, where we will get insights on the Indian economy and its growth. I am your moderator for today. I'm Michael DeMello. She's Snehal Shinde, Shreya Kumar, Anjli, Martina, Divyanshika, and Shreya Patel. Now let's begin. We'll be having a panel discussion on the Economic Survey 2017-2018, where our topic will be based on industry and infrastructure. Promoting inclusive employment, intensive industry, and building resilient infrastructure are vital factors of economic growth. The government has also taken several sector-specific measures to improve this economic growth, apart from the structural reforms that they already have in place, like GST, insolvency and bankruptcy code. The government has also initiated specific areas that they would like to improve on, for example, steel, apparel, and leather. But there have also been significant growth in sectors like road, railway, metro rail, shipping, civil, which we will be going through in the following discussion. But first, let's talk about the industry. It is said that due to the government-specific initiations or their specific reforms in 2014, they have seen significant improvement in the overall business. As a result of these reforms in India, India has leapt 30 ranks from their previous 130 rank in the World Bank Business Report 2018. Also, according to Moody's investors, it is shown that India has raised their rating from which was their lowest investment. They've increased it from Baa3 to Baa2. So now, since their investment has increased, Shreya, can you please comment on the investment on infrastructure that the government has done so that this economic growth has been sustained?
There has been a very substantial investment policy done by the government in the infrastructure area, which covers transportation, energy, power, communication, all of these. There has been a target of doing an investment of $4.5 trillion till 2040. Right now, it has only been till $3.4 trillion. So the government has to bridge this gap. In order to bridge this gap of underinvestment, since there has been a little bit of underinvestment since the past few years, because of a lot of reasons, such as there has been the bad balance sheets of private companies, there has been collapse of PPP, private-public partnership, and also there has been problems of land and forest clearances by the companies. So these problems, the government has to tackle it and boost up the investment. They can boost the investment by investing by actually cooperating with banks such as AIIB and IIB, which is the Asian Infrastructure Industrial Bank and National Infrastructure Industrial Bank, and also from the New Development Bank, which was previously called BRICS Bank. So all of these initiatives will actually boost up investment.
It is also known that the infrastructure is at about 3.8%, but with these following changes, we can say a much significant growth. Another sector which has also improved in growth is the steel sector. So Anjli, can you please tell us what are the reforms or what are initiatives the government has taken to improve the steel sector?
Okay, so starting with the steel sector, recently India has witnessed many rising imports of the cheap steel from China, South Korea, and Ukraine in Indian markets at low prices since year 2014-15. So this greatly affected the domestic producers. So in order to address these cheap problems with the problems which they had was the cheap steel, government has introduced MIP. They introduced MIP, which is known as minimum import prices in Feb 2016, which it went about for 1 year. So subsequently this was introduced. MIP was introduced in order to curb the prices. So MIP is technically where you have to pay a minimum amount so as to bring in the imports to the country. This actually you help the domestic producers to bring the prices back in the market. After that, also government has introduced anti-dumping duties were imposed on many import items. Apart from that, government levied some extra taxes on the importing countries like China, Korea, EU, European Union, and Thailand and USA. Apart from that, recently in June 2017, China had a cutback on their steel prices, which led to an international increase in the prices. So apart from that, there are many new policies which has been enforced in the steel sector, after which the sector saw an exports of 52.9% and imports by 10.9%. So these are some reforms which have been introduced, initiatives which have been introduced by the government to boost the steel sector.
Also adding to that, since steel sector has also improved, this has also given rise to infrastructure improvement, right? So, Divyanshika, if you could please elaborate on any upcoming or current projects that is happening in that you can see in major cities.
So in major cities, we can see the metro rail projects. So we have already seen that Delhi Metro project is a great success. So this comes under the metro rail project, which has been an initiative by the government of India to curb the transportation problem in the major cities. So because of the urbanization, major cities were facing the problem of transportation and delivery of the items. So this can be curbed with the metro project, and we have already started the metro rail project in 425 kilometers of the area span in the major cities like Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida, Kolkata, Chennai, Bangalore. And this project is also being stretched in few cities like the Pune and Mumbai plant, where it is being expanded into 625 kilometers in the upcoming years.
So, adding to that, you're just talking about major cities, okay? But what about rural cities? For example, major cities do have electricity; they have plenty of it. But what about rural cities? Like Shreya, could you please elaborate on the schemes that the government has introduced to ensure electrification in urban or rural areas?
So the power generation capacity of India has been increased, and the on 30th November 2018, our power generation capacity reached 3 lakhs plus megawatts. But the problem is that the electricity distribution has not been very good so far. So for that, the government has issued many schemes, and also in April 2015, almost 18,000 villages were not electrified. But now, in the past few years, they have all been electrified, and almost 15,000 villages have been electrified till May 2018. To enhance power supply in rural areas, the Deen Dayal Upadhyay scheme has been launched by the government, and the layover for the scheme was 43,000 plus crores, and which has been right now reformed as Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Vidyutkaran Yojana, and some more 39,000 crore investment has been made for that, and also the government has issued Subhagya Yojana, and for that, to ensure electrification of all remaining willing household in the country. And also, they are willing in the remote areas also where electrification is not possible. So, what the government has done that they've provided solar electrification, and so they've provided solar street lights, and some fans and plugs, so that for time being they can be electrified. And also, apart from these developments, they have aimed at ability of power, enhancing ability of power. The energy efficiency has also been important for the Indian government. So the lightning itself accounts about 20% of total electricity consumption in India. So national LED program has been introduced, where it's been used to promote the use of most efficient lighting technology at affordable rates. So which was launched in 2015. So the program includes two companies, Unnat Jyoti Affordable LED for all, to providing LED bulbs at reasonable rates, and Street Lighting National Program for to replace 1 crore conventional street lights
with an energy efficient street lights.
Also, due to this lack of electricity, I think very few people are trying to build houses. People are moving and staying towards towns and cities, major towns and cities. So, Snehal, could you please elaborate on the issues that India is facing in the housing sector?
Talking about the housing sector, one of the major findings that have cropped up in the economic survey is that now only 20%, 28% of the city dwellers actually live in a rented house. So, which was 54%. So we can see that there is a major change in the preference of Indian city dwellers from actually owning a house to from actually renting, staying in a rented house to actually owning a house. So there have been a number of initiatives taken by Government of India under the Housing for All policy, which include the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Rajiv Gandhi Awas Yojana, etc., which is aiming to build 3 billion houses in urban areas specifically. Despite India having a very increasing population and there has been a lot of horizontal movement, there have been 12% vacant homes in urban areas itself, out of which 500,000 are in Mumbai, followed by 300,000 in Delhi. So we can clearly see that there is a very deep systemic problem in the rental housing market of India, which needs to be addressed.
But don't you think though these vacant houses are due, even though there is like fluid population, right? Don't you feel that these vacant, how do you resolve this issue of vacant houses?
I think a successful housing policy is the one which enables both horizontal movement, that is across cities when as job opportunities arise, and at the same time vertical movement, that is climbing up the socio-economic ladder. But what India has is a very complex problem, and it can't be resolved by just increasing the number of houses in urban areas. So what India is facing major issues is the informal housing system, that is the slum and shanty dwellers, and their reluctancy to shift to the facilities that are provided by the government. Also, there have been a lot of cases that have been pending for their redressal related to housing issues, and there is a lack of clarity related to renting and leasing laws. So what India must do is definitely a more fast track redressal of such renting and rental control laws, and at the same time there should be more flexibility to meet the objectives of the housing for all mission. That can be done with the help of customization, more accessibility, and more services which are actually expected by the people living in the shanty dwellers. And also, one thing that can be done is more clarity on how the renting and rental control laws are there in India.
Also, the fact that people are traveling loads of distances just to make sure that, let's say, for example, people are living in Pune but they're working in Mumbai, so every morning they are traveling. So, Shreya, could you please highlight the government initiatives that the government has taken in the road and rail sector that is benefiting you?
Yeah, there has been a lot of connectivity issues in road and railway. So the government has taken a lot of initiatives. India has one of the largest road networks. It ranges of 54.17 kilometers, which comprises of national highways, state highways, expressways, district roads, village roads. So all these, the government has taken a lot of initiatives. For example, they have actually revived all the stalled projects that were there. The Ministry of Road, Transport and Highway have done that along with NHAI. Also, there have been a lot of district roads that have been connected by rural roads and main roads. So the habitations in the rural areas have been connected very well to the district roads. The next initiative that the government has taken is the Pradhan Mantri Sadak Yojana, which is centrally sponsored, which actually connects all the district roads that I mentioned right now. And also one of the major initiatives is Bharat Mala Yojana, where there has been a lot of freight and passenger movement which will happen through this yojana, because there will be an extensive network of road in this, because that will actually enhance the optimization of the movement of both passengers and freight. One more initiative in the road domain that the government has done is that they have actually promoted the district roads. The initiatives that the government has taken in the railway sector, are also very much appreciated in this survey. For example, the freight prices have actually increased sharply, whereas the passenger fares have been steady throughout the years. So the freight share has actually decreased because of this problem. So they have introduced a lot of schemes, such as they have classified commodities into various categories. They have put rates in different stations. So station to station, the rates are differing. So all these initiatives by the government has actually helped this problem. Also, they have done the station redevelopment scheme, wherein the smart cities have been identified, and some stations in there will be redeveloped so that the passengers can enjoy world-class amenities and services. MOU between the Ministry of Road and the Ministry of Railways have been signed. Ministry of Railways and the Ministry of Housing has been signed because of this station redevelopment program. The electrification and also the pace of commissioning of the gauge lines have accelerated a lot since the past 3 or 4 years. So all these initiatives have will actually also lead to a boosting of investment, which will indirectly and directly lead to a lot of jobs, which will happen in both the rural and the urban areas.
So basically, logistics has improved in terms of railway, but in terms of railway, like it takes time for cargo to move from place A to place B. It takes about 2 to 3 days. But let's say you want to move cargo as quickly as possible. Aviation, we all know, is very expensive. So, can Divyanshika, can you please explain what the government has done to reduce these prices in terms of cargo and in terms of transport?
Yeah, so in terms of transporting people, so the government of India has taken many initiatives in terms of civil aviation. So the last year it has been seen that we are the third largest and the fastest moving domestic aviation country in India. So we have increased our domestic passenger departure from 23.5%, which is as compared to USA was 3.3% and China it was 10.7. So it was a drastic increase in terms of domestic booking and domestic movement of people. And even if we see the CAGR, it has increased from to 9.89 percentage in the domestic aviation of the Indian economy. And if we see the domestic airlines, which has carried last year, it has carried 57.5 million people, which makes it to 16% increase in the domestic travelers. And even the government of India has taken many initiatives to make aviation available for the country. So the first initiative taken is Ude Desh Ka Aam Aadmi. So basically, this initiative makes each and every people of the country to make the accessibility of the flights and airlines at a cheaper and available rates. So because there is a lack of airports in India, so government is planning for new 18 greenfield projects, majorly in Navi Mumbai, Shirdi, and a few areas in India. And even other major exports have been taken for the airport development. So there are 50 airports which are not actually working in the direction they should work. So they are even to be considered this year, and new reforms are to be made. And even the liberalization of the air service is taken into consideration with Afghanistan. And even if we see this scenario, airlines is very expensive in India because of the fuel rates as compared to shipping. Yeah, so shipping, even in shipping, we are doing very good. So 95% of from the terms of volume and 65% in terms of value are the trade and the transportation through shipping. And government is even taking initiative to improve this transportation by decreasing the GST rate. So previously it was 18%, now it is 5%, so as to reduce the fuel rates. So if we consider between the metro, airways and the shipping ways, so even metros, the government is taking initiative because government cannot fund the complete metro project because it is quite expensive. So this policy is being given to Metro Rail Policy 2017, which even considers other countries what they are doing, and we are learning from them to bridge the gap between it. And if we look into the detail into the shipping industry, the shipping traffic is being increased by 5.9% overall, and we have seen a growth of 4.2% in major shipping ports, and a growth of 6.9% in non-major shipping ports. Even the government has taken initiative for RFIDs, that is radio frequency identification. So this actually helps the cargo and ships in the major ports to reduce the congestion, because whenever a ship is being loaded and unloaded in any of the shipping ports or the cargoes, they take a lot of time, which actually incur their parking costs in the shipping ways. So this has been decreased by RFIDs. And the great event which has taken place in 2017 was the Jal Marg Vikas Yojana on Ganga River. So this is an initiative which was launched in Varanasi and Haldia. So it actually covers the area of 1380 kilometers, which has costed us quite a huge, like 15,369 crore. But this actually helps in the inland waterways transportation. So basically, we can reduce the transportation cost from airways to waterways, because the airway fuel cost is a lot, and we are actually planning to use the airways to make it available for every individual. So the transportation can be considered in the cargos, and people can be considered in the airways.
Thank you, Divyanshika, for that. I'm gonna bring a whole new different topic just because you had mentioned GST before. So we all know the textile industry had been affected a lot because of GST. So Shreya, could you please comment on the constraints that the textile industry is facing currently, and what are schemes the government has introduced to improve?
So currently in the textile sector, there is potential for growth in exports and women employment. So the sector is witnessing an opportunity because the China is losing its market share in clothing export due to increase in labor costs. But India has not been able to grab this opportunity because of the extensive competition it's facing from Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Ethiopia, because they have access to duty-free markets in European Union and United States of America. So India is facing constraints such as high domestic taxes on man-made clothes, stringent labor laws, and high logistics costs. And for that, the cabinet introduced a package of 6,000 crores for apparel sector, and which includes the enhanced subsidy to increase the machinery from 15% to 25%, and the government to bear 12% of the PF cost for the employer for the new workers. And also, the scheme was implemented in November 2016, and the first installment was given of 400 crores, and the second was of 1,540 crores from Ministry of Textile to Ministry of Excise and Customs. So then another scheme which was approved by government in December 2017 was capacity building in textile sector. It was applicable in financial years 2017-18 to financial year 2019-20, and it includes national skill qualification of framework compliant training courses. So it would help for unskilled people. And also, since this scheme was implemented in 2016, the package did have positive impact on exports. And in the in the ready-made clothes of man-made network, we saw improvement. But the ready-made clothes from the natural fibers, it did not show a lot of improvement. But still, the impact of package increased the overtime and did not show any signs of attenuation.
Yeah, but I want to know one thing. What is the favorable trend in the leather industry, and what impacts does it have on the labor reforms?
So if we want to follow the global market in leather industry, we have to do promotion in leather footwear. But the global demand for footwear is non-leather. But the Indian tax laws are in favor of leather footwear, and India also faces high customs tariff in a number of developed countries. So a scheme for promotion of footwear has been launched, and it will be similar to textile sector. So it had layover of 26 crores at first, and the scheme will lead to development of infrastructure, brand promotion, and environment factors specific to the sector. And also employment generation will be there. And it will the enhanced tax incentive would attract large scale of people, and also reforms in labor laws in the view of seasonal nature of the sector will support the economies of scale. And the special package has the potential to generate around 3 lakhs jobs in 3 years, and assist in formalization of 2 lakhs jobs, another 2 lakh jobs, as cumulative impact in footwear and leather and accessory sector.
So these are actually mostly being sold in, let's say, small scale enterprises. Okay. So I would like to know what are the conditions that these MSME sector in India, what are the initiatives the government has taken, and how is it improved?
Okay, so currently the share of the MSME sector in countries' gross value added is roughly about 32%. So MSME in India plays a very crucial role because it provides large-scale employment opportunities at a very lower capital cost, and also it helps in the industrialization of the rural and the backward areas. So, as per the NSS 73rd round 2015-16, there are roughly 633.8 lakhs unincorporated non-agriculture MSMEs in different economy activities, providing employment to roughly 11.10 crore workers. So there is a one major crisis in MSME sector is credit. MSMEs don't generally get credit easily for expansion purposes. So data on credit dispersed by banks shows that there's a total outstanding of credit roughly $26,041 billion, out of which 82.6% goes to large enterprises and merely 17.4% goes to MSMEs. Recently, we have seen a growth of credit in micro and small enterprises. There was an increase in 4.6%, but then there was a decrease in medium enterprises of roughly 8.30%. So, in order to curb these, problem areas, government has introduced some schemes. For example, there's a scheme named as Prime Minister Employment Generation Program, which aimed at generating self-employment opportunities, establishment of micro enterprises in non-farming sector. One more scheme is named as CLCSS, which is Credit Linked Capital Subsidy Scheme, which is focused towards technology upgradation in MSME. And then there's one more, Pradhan Mantri Yojana for Development and Refinancing, which is basically the Mudra, known as Micro Unit Development and Refinance Agency. So it provides funding to non-corporate small business sector. So these are some of the schemes which the government has introduced to boost the MSME sectors to promote the entrepreneurial nature in the country. Apart from that, there's also other initiatives introduced by government, which is Make in India and IPR, as well as the Startup India. So Make in India, as we all know, that it was introduced on 20th September 2014. So the basic purpose of introducing Make in India was to make India as a global hub for manufacturing, research, and innovation. So what government has done is government has identified 10 champion sectors which they think that potentially will bring the potentially will increase the GDP through these 10 sectors. So these 10 sectors are defined as defense, biotechnology, renewable energy. Apart from that, we have IPR. So IPR is basically to improve the innovation sector. So they have introduced IPR to improve the ecosystem so that the innovation there's a more legal work towards it. So introducing the IPR, we have recently seen some 45,449 patents registering, and out of which 9,847 patents are already being granted. Then the last initiative which has been introduced by government is Startup India. Startup India is basically Startup India, Stand Up India, introduced on 15th August 2015. the government is working towards providing a conducive environment for the growth of startups. So they have acknowledged the need. So what government has promised is that they have already they have created a FFS account with a corpus of 10,000 crores with the SIDBI bank. So what they are saying that they will provide the money. In turn, they will the compliance money which is required. They will lower the compliance money to produce a startup culture in India. So these are all the initiatives introduced by the government.
As per our latest estimates, it's known that India's GDP will jump in the Q2 to 5.8%, which in Q1 was only 1.6%, and this is due to the robust growth in manufacturing, which is 7%. But overall, we saw a 4.4% increase in the industrial growth as well. So, just adding to all these points, these have all contributed to the overall economic growth of India. So that was our panel discussion. We hope you enjoyed it. Before I forget, I'm your moderator, Michael DeMello. This is Snehal Shinde, Shreya Kumar, Anjli, Martina, Divyanshika, and Shreya Patel. And, yeah, that's it. Thank you.